listening to the Ecosystem Approach show. I'm Jason.
And I'm Patricia. Tune in every Monday at 1 p.m. Pacific Time and 4 p.m. Eastern Time on Transformation Talk Radio.
We discovered that human potential is severely limited when you program humans like a machine, which is standard practice today for self-improvement.
The Ecosystem Approach teaches you how to uncover your infinite potential by using natural methods that are truly revolutionary. Join us now for the Ecosystem Approach show. Today, we're talking about emotional triggers that most people associate with PTSD. However, triggers to our emotions happen every day with consequences to our well-being and happiness. Triggers are compulsive emotional reactions and are difficult to perceive and then remove. Using an energy approach is the only good way to address these triggers. You have to listen to this show. Stay tuned. We are married intuitives with over 20 years experience who created the Ecosystem Approach for you. This is much different because we see human beings as ecosystems that need to be restored instead of programmed. We show you how to take an energy approach for internal discovery that is rational, practical, and useful for everyday life. Jason, can you explain how we see emotional triggers and how we would define them?
You know, and usually during this time of year, in the past years, we've done shows about Thanksgiving, and Christmas, and stress during Thanksgiving when you get together with your family. Talk about emotional triggers. Those shows were all about emotional triggers and what to do with that. You know, and by the way, this show is our 300th show.
Which, by the way, congratulations. That is amazing.
You know, and that's a lot of content. We're going to be making our subscription service go live beginning of the year, and that's a lot of content for people to be able to have access.
Truly, yes, I agree.
So you're asking, how do we see emotional triggers and how we define them? So let's talk about that.
Okay.
First of all, emotional triggers are unique to the individual. What triggers you may not trigger me at all.
And I can guarantee you that is the truth.
There is no logic to triggers.
Yes.
It's what they represent to the person based on their emotional story.
Yes.
Their energies, these triggers are energies and intangible.
Meaning you can't actually touch them, so to speak.
You can't measure them. You can't see them.
Right.
They can't be eliminated with drugs. And they are unaffected by willpower.
Ah, okay.
You know, we try and use drugs. We try and use willpower. You know, I'm not going to react when my mother says a certain thing that just makes me crazy.
Right.
You know, but
no, that's my job. Oh, sorry.
And here's the other thing: they're compulsive. In other words, they happen without thought, without volition, without intention. And here's the most important part, and this is the most important part of this show. And I hope you can take this in because their roots are in the soul or your essence. So if you're working any place else, you ain't going to do it. It's not going to get rid of those triggers. So when you see your mother for the first time in a year, and she says, your hair, and just walks away, you know.
Other than you would just want to reach out and just punch her.
Anybody else would say, well, so what was the big deal?
Yeah.
You know, she just was commenting about your hair. But, you know, why are you angry and depressed for the rest of the
day and year?
Yeah.
Yes. But the bottom line is that it is, at first off, it was her compulsion to watch you squirm. That's the first thing.
You don't know the motive. It's hard to know the motive.
Yeah.
You know,
you had a
you had a bad mommy. You know, all the bad mommy movies. You know,
yes.
Could encompass your, but you don't know the motive.
Right.
And that's what makes it so difficult, because we can't give you a formula and say, when someone does this,
do that,
do this.
It
doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
So we've been watching we do this at night and with mom,
right.
We take care of my mom who's got dementia and has trouble hearing, but we watch Grey's Anatomy. We've been doing
one show a night.
I think we're up to season 9 right now.
Okay.
Something like
wow.
that.
Okay.
7 or 8, something like that. So if you've ever watched Grey's Anatomy, this is a Grey's Anatomy. We're going to use that as an example, but it could be in real life too. But Owen was the military guy who did trauma surgery in Afghanistan.
Right.
And he was sleeping with Christina. Literally, I think they were married at that point, and oh no, it was before they were married, and they were just dating or having fun together. Anyways, they were sleeping together, and he saw the overhead fan whirling, and it triggered him because it gave him a memory of a helicopter.
Right.
And all of a sudden, he was back in Afghanistan, and he was afraid for his life. He rolled over on top of Christina and started choking her.
Correct.
Because he was fighting for his life. And she finally got him away and woke him up.
Got away from him.
Got away from him.
Woke him up. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't remember what happened after that, but I don't know if they even showed it. But that was a classic, really serious PTSD.
Right. Post-traumatic stress disorder.
So here's what doesn't work. Avoiding ceiling fans for the rest of your life.
Okay.
that doesn't work.
No.
It may have affected them today, but tomorrow it may not affect them the same way.
Correct.
It could be something else.
Okay.
Medicating him, some of the drugs that you get for these psychological dysfunctions, all the way from antidepressants,
yes,
can be really serious with serious side effects. So you can't really medicate it. All that does, it just calms you down. But it also
doesn't take
dulls
away.
you down. It makes you dull. You don't have your va-va-voom.
But it doesn't take away the energy that triggered that. And I realize it's a show, but it doesn't take away the energy that triggered that episode for Owen.
Right.
And by the way, there's thousands of Owens out there right now. Because of all the things that are going on.
Because of my military background, I have a great sympathy for that. But here's the other part of this, okay? Right. When we look at someone's essence,
yes,
we see that the root is not, it doesn't go back to Afghanistan. No. It doesn't go back to being a soldier. It's deeper than that. And that's what makes it so difficult. So we're almost running out of time. I want to get some of this other stuff done.
Okay.
But these triggers are connected to very strong emotions. Willpower can't overcome it. Talking about these emotions can give you some clarity about where they come from, but then there's nothing you can do with it because they're compulsive. In other words, you don't have any control over this part of yourself.
Correct.
It's unconscious. Okay. And here's the part that most people don't understand, especially in the traditional therapeutic community. They're motivated by dark energy. Triggers are motivated by dark energy. They're not to help you be a better person. Those triggers aren't here to help you grow and evolve. They're here to suppress your evolution.
Correct.
And suppress who you are authentically. Right. And some of you may not believe that. Some of you have struggled with that. I think we're going to do it. I just came up with a show. We're going to do this in the future. How to really understand, how to believe negative energy. And here's the hint. Okay. That it has to be through your intuition. When you clear your intuition enough, you start to see the negative energy. And if you don't, then you can't. So. All right. Emotions are subtle energies. They're affected by an energy process like using the ecosystem approach, but they're not affected by other things. Triggers connect you with your greatest fears and your most sensitive areas
and issues. But here, I want you to read that again. This is really important. I'm going to say it. Triggers connect with your greatest fears. Most people don't even acknowledge their fears. So there's a key right there. And then your triggers are also connected to your most sensitive areas and issues. Most of us, all of us have been trained. That doesn't matter anymore. Just push it aside.
Yeah, move on.
Move on, and
move ahead.
And don't think about how much that whatever your mother said about your hair or whatever affects you. Well, okay, that's great, but it doesn't take that negative energy away. And you and I both know that that negative energy, even though it might be about your hair, can go inside, and we're triggered, in other words, or told not to think about it, and it festers on the inside. Breast cancer is a perfect example.
We're going to talk some more about that in the next segment.
I know.
Oh my gosh, it can create illness, all sorts of things.
Yes.
But these triggers, because they're motivated by dark energy, find your most vulnerable part.
Yes.
They find the part that is your biggest fear, or your biggest issue, or your biggest shame or guilt, and it activates those.
Correct.
And so the treatment, and just I'm going to go through the list real quick. That's normal for PTSD. Medication, we talked about that, doesn't work. Cognitive behavioral therapy, it's just a form of talk therapy that's more structured. It can help you understand it, but once you understand it, that doesn't help either. Exposure therapy, I don't see that changes the energy. It just takes the trigger or the negative energy and moves it around. So maybe instead of being triggered by this, you're triggered by this. EMDR, that's the one thing, that's rapid eye movement desensitization.
Yeah.
That is like an energy approach, but we do it so much better and deeper.
Yes.
Self-care, that always helps you. Nutrition, that always helps you for everything.
Right.
Using a psychologist or psychiatrist, well, there's benefit to that.
Sure.
All forms of programming, however, treat you like a machine. And PTSD and emotional triggers are soul and essence issues. They're not. If you treat yourself like a machine, you're not going to get there at all. You're going in the wrong direction.
Exactly.
True healing comes from the developing consciousness and evolving using the ecosystem approach.
Jason, what is the quick tip of this segment?
Emotional triggers and PTSD of all types are at the root an energy problem that starts in the soul or your essence. Most therapies seek to program a person like a machine and or medicate them so they're less responsive to triggers, but also in life in general. You don't want to be married to a person that's been suppressed like that. This is not a cure or true healing. Emotional triggers always connect you to an area of your life where you are the most vulnerable and may seem completely innocent or benign to another person.
Correct.
Triggers are energies and are intangible and difficult to be seen, measured, or treated with drugs or therapies. They are compulsive and seem to be on the control of the individual. True healing comes from higher consciousness and personal evolution using the ecosystem approach.
In the next segment, we're going to talk about hidden triggers that are acting on you, but you are probably not aware of them. This includes triggers that are connected to disease and illness. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show, unscripted, with Jason and Patricia, and you're listening to Transformation Talk Radio. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason, and I'm Patricia. And in this segment, we're going to talk about hidden triggers that are acting on you, but you're probably not aware of it. This includes the triggers that are connected to disease and illness. Jason, what do you mean by hidden triggers?
They are triggers that are happening in an unconscious way. They create emotional pain and stress, but they're happening in a way that is completely unknown and unconscious to the individual. I remember one, we were at a family function. We're talking about Thanksgiving. So we were at a family function, probably some holiday. And I was being affectionate with you, a little publicly, but,
not offensively.
Not offensively. But then I saw your sister
and she was watching us.
And then she walked over to her husband and gave him a kiss. Now, I've never seen her sister give her husband a kiss. Ever. We've known her for a long time. So, I know that was a trigger. We see it was a jealous trigger.
That's right.
knew
if
the
you knew the family
dynamic. Yes.
dynamics, you'd know that that's exactly what it was.
I'm sure if we said, "Oh, you were jealous," she would say, "No, I wasn't. I just was being affectionate with my husband."
Right. Right.
They're unconscious.
Yes.
That's why they're so insidious.
Yes.
And those are the worst, because those are the ones that create stress. So all of a sudden you have high blood pressure, you don't know why.
Right.
Or you get cancer and you say, "Oh my gosh, where did this come from?"
Right.
In the traditional medical field, you just get cancer. You hope they have this idea that it's out there in society that doesn't come from any place. It just happens. You just, and people spend their whole life saying, "I hope I don't get cancer. I hope I don't do this." Right. So they eat all these things, and your diet doesn't really affect it that much. It's because those illnesses, diseases
are connected to
these hidden unconscious triggers that are acting upon you all the time.
And they're negative energy.
They're negative energy. You don't think they're very serious, but oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Well,
huge.
You know what? I have a story. I know you were going to tell it, but I'm going to tell it.
Okay.
Wait, my perspective. And the reason we're laughing about it is for the simple fact of I had no idea that this was the pattern, or this was the pattern that I was using.
It was an unconscious trigger.
Totally. When it comes to family functions, first off, I am mostly the major cook for a lot of things, and definitely all the desserts and a few of the other things. But I spend days and I spend weeks planning what I'm going to do, and then I spend days getting things together, and then I have so much time I can put things together, and then you put things in the car and off you go, that kind of thing. And I had no idea that on the way home, I would take out on Jason, which I apologize in front of all of these people. Truly, I had no idea that I would take out the negative energies, the old rules and the old programmings from all of the things that I did, but I had no idea the effect.
Exactly. Well, and so to fill in the gaps there, okay.
Please do.
Your emotional story is about being used as a maid, and is literally having your childhood stolen from you, because you were more competent than anybody else in your family, and you did the cooking, you took care of your mentally disabled sister, and where your sister and the rest of your family was out playing, you were taking care of them, and you had this deep resentment, which you didn't realize either. But when we went to these family functions, it would trigger that resentment and bitterness about being the main that you weren't even aware of. That was primarily unconscious.
Exactly.
So when we started doing the ecosystem approach, that came out, but she would start a fight. It was
every time.
It wasn't that you would just get angry with me. You'd start a fight, so then you could be angry.
Exactly. In other words, there was logic to it. Not. Exactly.
And that doesn't happen anymore, but it's just
well,
that's how insidious they can be.
Exactly. And I want to say it actually took years for that quote fight to stop. And by the way, he's not wrong about this. It always came from me. And boy, that was when I finally realized, and it was after a lot of removing negative energy that I finally realized I was the problem here.
And it wasn't any bad behavior from your family. It's just that there was a frame in her family where it was expected that Patricia would do these things.
All of them.
And so someone come up and say, "Oh, thank you for you did such a wonderful job with these dishes." It would sound like a compliment, but that would trigger you. It's like, and you didn't know why.
And the trigger was, "Thank you for being the maid."
Yes.
Excuse
me. That's
what
you heard.
That is exactly what I heard. And it took me a long time, because this had been happening to me since I was at least 5 years old. So, and we can move on. We don't need to.
Well, that was part of your emotional story.
That was exactly
so. If you want to understand your triggers, you have to understand your emotional story, and
at least be willing to look at it.
Yes.
Yes.
Because even when you don't know.
Exactly.
Some of them, some of the most difficult clients I've had have come from a quote unquote normal family.
Yeah.
When you have wholesale sexual abuse or physical abuse,
that's correct.
it's kind of easy because you know that's a problem.
Yes.
But when it's seemingly supportive, it's seemingly normal.
Yes.
Everybody goes to college and gets their needs met, and
all of those things.
It seems like those are the most difficult because it's insidious, and that negative energy is really hard to uncover.
Exactly. Exactly.
So those are unconscious triggers. Most disease and illness come from unconscious triggers that we don't want to see.
That's correct.
So when someone just gets cancer, there's a reason for it.
Correct.
And since we've been doing this and understanding it, when we see people who die suddenly or get sick suddenly or have cancer or any other disease,
correct,
we can see the reasoning, the triggers behind it, because of our consciousness that we've developed, and our ability to see energy.
Exactly.
The way to make unconscious triggers conscious is using an energy approach that includes your essence, which is all what we do with the ecosystem approach. Often those triggers only make sense in terms of your emotional story.
Yeah.
If someone came up to me and said,
thank you for making the pie.
Yeah, thank you for carrying all this crap up to the house, and loading up the car. I'd say, yeah, thank you. Yeah,
you're welcome.
No triggers there.
Exactly.
The difference, here's the other thing.
Well done.
The differences between your Enneagram type and your authentic self can trigger and be stressful.
Yes.
One of the things about therapists, and we're not trying to
put anybody down,
but therapy doesn't know the difference. Therapy isn't grounded in an understanding of who you are authentically based on your essence.
Correct.
And know that your essence is covered with negative energy. It doesn't know any of that stuff.
Correct.
So it just tries to say, okay, well, we're just going to try to make you functional. If you're crying too much, we're going to help you stop crying so much.
Right. If you're eating too much, we're going to try and help you with that. Those kind of things. That's what he's talking about.
And if you don't get to the real triggers, and by the way, emotional triggers and eating is one of the biggest.
Is one of the most visible, and people do not see the energy behind it.
Lifestyle diseases and diseases that is fuzzy and unknown, dementia, Alzheimer's, emotional triggers, Parkinson's, lupus, multiple sclerosis, cancer, heart disease, PTSD, all types of mental illness, mental health issues.
Correct.
They're all unconscious triggers.
Yes. Yes, exactly.
So,
do we want to do the quick tip, Jason? Are we ready for that?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's one other thing example. Okay.
Okay.
The difference between your Enneagram type and your authentic self can be a trigger in itself.
Yes.
I always thought in the beginning of my career that I would be good as a project manager.
Okay.
Because I could be really detail oriented.
Okay.
But now I understand, having done the ecosystem approach for all these years, that I was able to do detail because my Enneagram type was fear-based, and based on shame.
Okay.
And those details, I didn't want to make any
mistakes,
and because I would feel shameful, and I was afraid of feeling shame or being judged or criticized.
Exactly. So that's a big deal.
And the truth is, I would never be a good project manager. That's not me. That's not me at all. Okay. And so when you understand the difference between your Enneagram type and your authentic self, you say, well, this is who I should be.
Right.
Versus, what I may have been, and a therapist would just say, okay, what are you good at? And if I said, well, I'm good at dealing with details, they would probably try and help me be a project.
Exactly.
But it wouldn't have helped.
So, Jason, what are the quick tip for this segment?
Our culture programs people to focus on goals and objectives, but
just
not
what you were talking about.
Uncover who they are authentically and remove the blocks to consciousness and their feelings and beliefs.
Right.
Emotional triggers happen in the fertile emotional soil of unconsciousness. Relationship problems, disease and illness, money problems, mental health struggles are all triggered from unconscious emotional pain and suffering that has been pushed aside and covered up. These triggers happen all the time and cause pain and suffering. The way out is creating a consciousness about our emotions and how they relate to the health of our soul or our essence. The ecosystem approach is designed to uncover who we are authentically and to see our hidden emotions and triggers and then remove them.
Okay. In the next segment, we're going to talk about how to remove emotional triggers that many therapists won't understand or be in agreement with. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show, unscripted, with Jason and Patricia, and you're listening to Transformation Talk Radio. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason, and I'm Patricia. And in this segment, we're going to talk about how to remove emotional triggers that many therapists won't understand or be in agreement with. Okay, Jason, what do you mean most therapists won't agree or understand?
This is the most important reason to use the ecosystem approach.
Okay.
And I want to explain it right now.
Okay.
And if all of a sudden you're triggered by the information you've gotten already,
okay,
and you want more, go to our website right now, theecosystemapproach.org, sign up for our free section. And we're going to be going live with our subscription service in the new year. It's going to be
I'm really excited about that.
It really
you must know the truth.
Yes. So traditional psychology or psychiatry doesn't include an understanding of your essence, what some people call soul. And we see that holds the key to your identity. And a lot of things that are wrong, whether it's cancer or whatever, you can trace that back, if you can see energy, to those things.
Okay.
And we would say, this is part of what we do, that if you do enough clearing using the ecosystem approach, and you're grounded in the right tools with seeing it in the right way,
okay,
the enneagram, the natal chart, those types of things, you can get to the right place. But we see that traditional psychology doesn't have it's rudderless, because it's not grounded in your essence.
Right.
It's grounded in principles that come from studies that don't necessarily give an understanding of your essence.
True.
And they may have an understanding of the whole population. But what about Patricia? What about me, Jason?
Okay, I like that.
And what's good for you is not necessarily good for me.
That's correct. I know that.
And if you're listening right now, if someone is telling you have to do this, it may not be the right thing for you. How do you know?
Right.
Well, there's a way to know. Your essence knows.
Yes, it does.
And if you know how to start to talk to it, to communicate with it.
Correct.
And that comes from removing the negative energy. And we do that every single time. And that's what our program is about.
Is removing, seeing a negative energy, removing it. And so you can have a better clarity, not only about who you are, but what you're doing here.
Right.
And most people, they struggle.
That's really important.
They struggle to even know what they're doing here.
And that struggle, people literally die from. We see it now all around us,
right?
Because we're older.
Anyway,
no, I'm about to turn 71. Patricia's 72, and people around us are literally dying because they don't know why they're here.
Yeah,
they don't know what they're doing here. They don't know what their purpose is.
Well, and I need to say this, that when you know what your purpose is, there is a fulfillment about who you are, and you gain a clarity about how to get up and go do it.
Yes.
And using the ecosystem approach is the best way to actually do that. It's awesome.
Most people work their whole life working to make money.
Yes.
Put money into a retirement account.
Sure.
So they can relax and enjoy life. But they don't know why they're here. They don't know their purpose.
Right.
And that in itself, you can die from.
Exactly.
You can die prematurely.
Yes.
But here's the other part that makes the ecosystem approach.
Okay.
And it's not very pleasant to talk about.
Okay.
But because we see energy, we see negative energy and how it works.
Yes.
And we're still learning about it. Oh my gosh.
Well, it's going to take more than a lifetime.
It's going to take more than a lifetime for us. Right. And but it's not that shrewd, but it can masquerade as positive.
Yes, it can.
That's why the Enneagram is such an important tool, and that we use that. Right. Because the Enneagram shows you how things that most of us think would be as positive traits,
well,
come from a negative place.
Can we give an example? A 2, for instance, meaning there's 9 Enneagram types, and a two, their biggest thing is that they love too much. And most people would say, how can you love too much?
Isn't love the answer?
Isn't love, yeah, exactly. And the answer is that in that 2 love, they want to possess. They want to
when there's too much of it, it can be possessive.
Exactly.
It can be compulsive.
Yes.
It can love the wrong things and people.
That's correct.
And as a result, have a ripple effect in the whole family. That happened to me. My mother loved my dad, who was really kind of dark and negative and critical and judgmental, and affected myself and my sister and everybody else in the neighborhood.
And I have to say that he and his sister are still dealing with those negative effects. Those negative effects. It's off. No offense.
In psychology, there's no such thing as negative energy.
I know.
And they don't understand it. Being really productive, being really efficient, having lots of energy can feel like a real positive in this culture, but it can be really detrimental. There's all sorts of to be a peacemaker, to bring people together, and to say, okay, let's turn down the temperature. Let's not create any. That can seem like a really positive, but when it's done in the wrong way, and
it can be very, very, very negative.
Very negative. So
yes, okay.
So the ecosystem approach calls into question what has been accepted as normal and appropriate behavior.
Correct.
And there are many behaviors that can be considered normal, which we see as negative for a specific individual.
Correct.
It's not. We may say it's okay for this individual, but for this individual, it's really not very good.
Well, because we see the effects. Not only we see the effects of the negative energy, but we see the effects of what that energy does to that person.
Another example.
Okay.
This is really important.
Okay.
When a 2 starts to say no, I'm not going to do that.
Oh,
that's really healing and growth inspiring for them.
Yes.
When an 8 says no, they do that all the time. They love to say no. They love to be kind of aggressive and
the word is in charge.
Yes. So
is what I would say.
But when a 2 can be loving, or an 8 can be loving, and a 2 can be more aggressive.
Yes.
It can be really, really so much so much better. So anyways,
all right.
Knowing the differences and between your Enneagram and authentic self is really important. And if you don't, it can trigger you and be stressful.
Correct.
I remember there's a famous celebrity who did a Freudian analysis. He did years of Freudian analysis.
Okay.
And he was very vocal about how it benefited him.
Okay.
But here's the question that I have, and I'm not really asking the question because I know.
You're going to pose it though. Go ahead.
I'm going to pose it. How does he know what he uncovered about himself? What's good and what's bad? He saw this great
and what
insight.
To do with it.
The way he acted and his motives for why he acted that way.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, does he know who he is authentically and what he needs to do?
Correct.
Correct. And I suspect that's not the truth.
Okay.
The most important part of the ecosystem approach is that fundamental to our approach is knowing who you are, and that the very root of your existence is your essence, and how to work with that on a regular basis.
Well, and you know what? I want to jump in and just say this, that when we say knowing who you are, it basically says, I know all about, I remember all the things that happened to me from childhood or that sort of thing, but it's knowing what to do with the things that bother you. And I'm going to say it that way, knowing that you can remove the negative energies around them. You cannot change your past, no matter, how hard you try. But if you can change the effects of that past on you,
which is what we do.
Exactly. Then you can go forward in ways that, well, one more time, I'm going to use the word, it's not only awesome, but it changes how you affect not only yourself and others in your lives.
Yes.
in your life, excuse me. So Jason, let's do the quick tip, and then let's tell everyone how to remove negative energy.
Most therapists and therapy professionals are not trained to acknowledge the essence or soul.
Correct.
The problem is that many negative energies that are attached to a person and their essence become normalized and hidden. Mm-hmm. If you can't fix something if you don't know how it works.
Correct.
Human beings works from their soul or their essence, and looking at behavior or physical symptoms without the understanding of essence leads you to the wrong conclusion.
Yes.
Which is traditional medicine, even alternative medicine can do that way.
Yes.
Emotional triggers can be one of the most difficult symptoms to handle and remove. Yeah. Most therapies medicate or suppress your reactions, but that causes other problems. Those triggers are left to fester and get worse. We can see that most people die prematurely and don't live to their full life because their emotional triggers continue to create stress and dysfunction until people literally die from that stress and dysfunction. The ecosystem approach is designed to help you remove those triggers.
So with that said, Jason, let's talk about how to remove that negative energy, and then stay with us, everyone. We're going to come back and we're going to start removing those negative energies. So take it away.
It's very simple. You can stand or sit or any posture you want. And when we say, just follow along with the words. When we say and to eliminate, just in your mind's eye, in your imagination, gather up those things that we say, whether they're emotions, veils and illusions, barriers.
Correct.
And then blow them into the processor. Sierra's going to put up a picture of the processor right now.
And the processor is really important. I'm going to jump in.
It's an intangible because that negative energy goes in the top.
Yes.
It gets processed and it comes out neutral.
Yes. And by the way, we don't need more negative energy in the world. What we need is more either neutral energy or positive, but first it has to be neutral.
Yes.
And then we get to make it positive.
Yes.
So that's really, really, really important. Anything else you want to say?
Methods of going to the ends of the universe or into the ground,
the green fire, or however it works.
Doesn't work.
No. So stay tuned. When we come back, we're going to help you start to see your emotional triggers and then remove them. This is the Ecosystem Approach with Jason and Patricia, and you're listening to Transformation Talk Radio. This is the Ecosystem Approach with Jason, and I'm Patricia. And in this segment, we're going to help you start to see your emotional triggers and then remove them. And by the way, I think this is just plain fun.
Yeah.
To me, this is a good time.
If we don't do clearing every single day, we miss it. There's a craving that happens.
That's true.
So here's what you do. And by the way, if you want the words written out for you,
there you go.
Go to our website, theecosystemapproach.org. Sign up right now.
Yes.
For our free section. You get our weekly newsletter, and that has all the clearings in it, and it has the words written out. A picture of the processor is right there.
Yeah.
And
all these amazing things that you can do. But also, I want those that are out there listening, at the first of the year, I want you to consider doing the subscription, because there's even more that we're going to be offering. So
300 shows of content, and we're going to do. You're going to have personal access to us with question and answers. Every week.
That's going to be interesting. So yes. All right. So Jason, let's go.
I direct all my resources in all dimensions to eliminate the veils and illusions, so I can see that all your emotional triggers are acting on you when you get mad, sad, or frustrated, in all sorts. And out of sorts in any way.
Okay, so nice and easy. From the tips of your toes, pull up that negative energy, veils and illusions, and you're going to throw it in that processor. And remember, that processor is there to catch that negative energy. It does process it, and it comes out neutral. We need that in the world. If you don't do this for yourself, do it for the world. So with that said, I'm going to shorten it up just a little bit, and to eliminate the veils and illusions, so I can see that most of my behaviors that are negative come from my unconsciousness. Nice and easy. Take a breath and throw that unconsciousness of veils and illusions away. Jason?
And to eliminate the stress and anxiety and overwhelm that I have that comes from emotional triggers that are unconscious.
Yes, take a breath and blow it out. and to eliminate the stress, anxiety, and overwhelm. Oh, excuse me. And to eliminate the veils and illusions so I can see that as I evolve, my unconsciousness, my unconscious mind, there we go, becomes smaller, meaning I become more aware of not only myself, but what's around me. Wow, that's huge.
Yes.
Take a breath and blow out those veils and illusions of unconsciousness.
And to eliminate the barriers so I can see that using the ecosystem approach is the way to uncover who I am and uncover all those emotional triggers and dark energy that keeps me from my authentic self.
Yes, take a breath.
Take those barriers.
You don't need them. And to eliminate the veils and illusions so I can see that traditional psychology does not consider the essence or its ability to define ourselves uniquely and our purpose, as well as guide us in life. That, everyone, is huge. Take a breath and blow out any negative energies left over.
I would say that if you're dependent on your therapist to guide you, you should be using the ecosystem approach so you can depend on your essence to guide you, because that's the ultimate guide and mentor. So, and to eliminate the intense feelings of worry, anxiety, and stress that I have been triggered unconsciously.
Yes.
Take a breath.
And blow out that negative energy. And to eliminate the veils and illusions so I can see you can't fix something if you don't know how it works. By the way, that's most therapies.
Yes.
Doesn't work. Take a breath.
I know it's pretty radical.
It is.
You know, and it's not to say there's not any benefit. We know there's a benefit, and there's even people that we know that we would suggest that because they're so unconscious, they need to start to be more conscious about just how things work.
Yes.
And therapy can be really beneficial to them.
Yeah.
But we see at the highest level, if you're listening right now and you want more, you want to be
the best of you,
more evolved, the best of you,
yes,
more conscious.
Yes.
This is the way.
Yes.
So the veils and illusions so I can see that emotional triggers are compulsive and can't be overcome with willpower.
That in itself is really big. Take a breath. And to eliminate the veils and illusions so I can see that the best place to start is with my emotional story so I can see my triggers. Take a breath and blow it out.
And to eliminate the barrier so I can see that my emotional triggers are compulsive and are intangible and don't respond. Do not respond to logic.
Yes.
You can't talk yourself out of your emotional triggers.
Ask me. I know that one. Take a breath. And to eliminate the veils and illusions so I can see that emotional triggers connect with emotional algorithms that create dysfunctional behaviors over and over and over again. Take a breath. And Jason, can you explain real fast that what the algorithm means?
Emotional algorithm, it means that when you get triggered, so when you go to your family function, the algorithm is I get resentful about being the maid.
Yep.
When people appreciate what I do, I feel abused. I feel taken advantage of, and I'm frustrated.
Yeah.
And I'm angry. That's the emotional algorithm. It's not just one thing. It's this and then this and then this.
In other words, they stack on top of each other. He's absolutely
it's a whole process that happens.
All right. So now let's do some life force and keep moving. So everyone follow along. I direct all my resources in all dimensions to activate life force so I can have hope, to have clarity and understanding about my emotional triggers, and then clear them or remove them. Nice and easy. Pull in that life force energy in through the top of your head. Let it go to the tips of your toes. Stop it right there. We're going to ask it to turn around and help remove more negative energy. Throw it away, everyone. Jason?
And to activate life force so I can have hope, to have clarity and understanding.
We already did that.
Okay. And so to activate life force so I can trust that my essence is the true root of my existence and holds the answers for my life.
I love that. Pull it in. This is about understanding the essence of you and blow out any negative energy that's blocking you from that. So, and to activate life force so I can decide to use the ecosystem approach to uncover my emotional triggers and remove them. And by the way, that's what we're doing right now. Pull them in and blow them out. And I'm going to do the last one if that's okay with you. And to activate life force so I can be happy and healthy and have love and understanding and clarity. And of course, my favorite, objectivity, but also so I can have I can be creative and be able to heal myself by using the ecosystem approach every single day, meaning remove negative energy and then call in life force energy to heal. Starting right now, take a breath and blow out the negative energies that are left over. Jason, what are we going to talk about next week?
Well, and I think it's important, if there's that part of you that's saying, OMG,
okay,
I've got these triggers. I've been struggling with them all my life. I need something to help me. And I want to be more conscious. I want to be more involved. I want something that's non-traditional. This is it.
Okay.
And so all you have to do right now is go to our website, theecosystemapproach.org, sign up for our free section. We're going to talk about more of that in just a minute. But next week, if you've been following us for a while, we've been channeling the energy of the planets.
Correct.
And that's really beneficial because these energies from the planets are acting on us every single day.
Yes. And we don't even know it.
Once we know what these energies are all about, their personalities, their strengths,
correct,
how we can use them, we can use them. Yes. This surprises me that people in astrology don't use the energies. They just
know about them.
Yes. They study them, they see how they act upon us, but they don't say, well, okay, it doesn't have to act this way, you can act this way.
Yes.
So
exactly.
So if this sounds really good for you, if you're really excited about this, go to our website, theecosystemapproach.org, sign up for our free section. If you want more of this, all you have to do is listen to our show every week.
Yeah.
That's the best way.
Yes.
Sign up for the free section, and we do the clearings every single week.
Exactly.
Our Facebook page, theecosystemapproach.org, also has our videos there. You can like us if you're there, if you would, and ask us a question if you want.
And also join next week. We'll connect next week, Monday at 1 p.m. Pacific and 4 p.m. Eastern Time. This is Transformation Talk Radio, and you're listening to the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason and Patricia.
Remember, your ecosystem is the most important one in the world.
Thank you for listening to the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason and Patricia. I'm Patricia. Tune in every week as we discuss practical ways to apply the ecosystem approach and develop your potential to live your life on your terms. For more information, visit our website at theecosystemapproach.org.